Hey, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of She Coaches Coaches. I am so glad you're here. Now, listen, this year, 2025, is the year of interesting conversations on the show. Early in the year, I sent a note out to about 10 of my favorite guests that I've had over time and asked them to recommend people to me. And I have got to tell you that this has been one of the most intriguing and entertaining and inspirational thing that's happened. I have met some amazing people, and you are going to meet one of them today. So I am looking forward to this conversation. And as with every interview, have no idea where it's going to go. So let me introduce our today's guest to you. Her name is Rahti Gorfien, and she has been coaching independent creative professionals who are scattered and overwhelmed, people such as writers, artists, healers, and entrepreneurs. As a professionally certified career and ADHD coach, she helps her clients focus so they can grab the focus of others, get seen, and make money doing what they love. Rahti has been recognized 3 times by expertise.com as one of the 15 best life coaches in New York City. She is also the author of The 5 Emotions That Stop Success in Coaches, Clients, and Creatives, Overcoming Personal Obstacles of the Mind, published by Routledge Press, Taylor and Francis Division. So, welcome to the show, Rahti. I'm so excited for our conversation.
Oh, so am I. And just as you were talking about the book, I remembered to put my phone on, do not disturb. So,
Good, good. I did that too. So, tell me, how did you get started? Like, it sounds like this has been a big journey. I'd love to hear more.
it has. And it just doesn't stop. Gotta tell you. No, life is cumulative. I started out as a theater artist I was an actor and a playwright, a stand-up comic back in the 80s because that was, if you didn't sing like Barbara Streisand, that was how you could get into the mainstream. And it's also how I met my husband. However, I evolved into a coach out of becoming disillusioned with the theater, moving into a spiritual community, an ashram in Pennsylvania, finding value in myself outside of what I do, which I think is the first step to success, realizing that what happened in terms of theater and my acting career did not diminish or enhance my worth as a human being, really needed to kind of dry out from careerism. And I also learned from that experience that company is stronger than will. So when I returned to the theater, I left the ashram. I like to say that I was probably one of the few people ever to be kicked out of a cult. Oh, I was down, man, the whole thing, the white sari, the mala beads, man, and it was very valuable. However, I'm glad I left when I did. Subsequently, there was the typical fall from grace of the guru type person. However, I digress. I came back with many valuable teachings and started creating support groups around myself. I started reading self-help books. The most seminal one for me was Wishcraft by Barbara Sher, because she really, what I love about her is there's no toxic positivity. While I do believe feelings are front and center in terms of what we have to deal with in order to achieve success, they don't ever have to stop you if you have a team. So for me, learning her technique of building a success team was how I cut my teeth as a coach. And
Mm.
people started getting successful. People started achieving things. I have a friend who was an elementary school system in the New York public school system. She was an elementary school teacher, excuse me, in the New York City public school system. And she opened a bookstore on Lexington Avenue. That's not easy to do. I had
Mhm.
another friend who moved to Maine and became a DJ, and people were popping. I started a yoga practice that filled up. And by then I was married. My husband and I met as stand-up comics. And he noticed I was having a good deal of success with these groups and said, you should start charging. I mean, he was always
What
up
a
for me.
thought. What a thought,
Start
right?
charging, right? What? Charge for this? What? But I enjoy it too much. Uh, but what I realized that he was, that's the thing when you're married, you're a witness to someone, right? And
Yeah.
in a good marriage, you're a witness to someone and you can see their strengths, weaknesses, and where they thrive. And he has always been very good at pointing those out.
Mm,
So I was sick of cooking for people and cleaning houses and being a cater waiter and very exhausting stuff.
yeah.
And started to investigate how I could monetize what I was doing, which it turned out was called coaching.
Let me just pause you here. There is
Yeah.
something that you said that is a common thread that I see with coaches, not
Mm.
coaches who are 20 years old, who love self-help. It's a different group of people, different demographic, different values, but people who are midlife who move into coaching. And that is this phrase, I was disillusioned with my life, whatever
Yep.
that life looked like. And I had the same experience. I was disillusioned with the life that I had created. I was a corporate person, right? Had the title, had the stuff, literally the stuff, but it just was not satisfying. And I think that disillusionment place is a pivot when we listen to it. Now, I was one of those, it took me like a long time to listen. I did everything in my life to not listen to the hint. But if you're feeling that disillusionment, and you've just heard Rahti talk about that, and you've heard me say this is a common thread, if you're feeling it, listen to yourself. There is a voice there that is telling you that it's time for you to look at something else and not look outside, but look inward. And that was the next step that you talked about, going inward and unattaching, or I don't know, detaching your worth and who you were from what you do. So
Right.
there's like, that's the common thread. We get disillusioned and then we go inward. And
Mhm.
that's the place that we grow. What do you think?
I think that's absolutely right. And that's where the feeling is the GPS.
Yeah.
Feeling, instinct, something's just not right. You know, uh, when I was young, my feelings dragged me by the throat into and in and out of everything.
Yeah.
And I thank my guardian angels because my feelings could have dragged me into some lethal stuff. But
Right.
I followed my inner guidance into the ashram and out of it and found my way. I think we all have to have that dark night of the soul. I don't think there's any coach or shrink in this town or anywhere else who hasn't been through this.
Yeah. It's a human experience.
Right.
And on this side of it, we know that it's a doorway into a pathway. It's
That's right.
not a stop sign, right? And I think that when you're in that place of disillusionment, you're like, oh my gosh, if I stop doing this,
Right.
I don't know what will happen. And it's kind of like it feels like it's the end, but it's actually not. So just that message, just it's okay to
That
open the door and go through and befriend
is
yourself.
absolutely. And I think when I'm working with people, the first thing we do is work on our sense of self outside of
Mm,
uh, anything we have done in the world so that you can cultivate the objectivity to figure out where to go next. And it's not a binary. It's not, I'm disillusioned, I'm going to quit what I'm doing and start something else.
mhm. Agreed.
It is right. It is you don't want to burn the ships. That metaphor, burn the
Yeah.
ship. There's no turning back. No, allow what you're disillusioned with to become a patron of where you want to go next. I don't think it has to be a big, violent shift. It wasn't for me.
Mm. I
Uh,
really like that. Become a patron. It's like becoming a sponsor and a mentor and a guide and somebody that believes in you. And there was something else that you said, Rati. It was this, there's this, that metaphor of burn the ships. I mean, I know that that's famous and that there's lots of people say that that was the key to
Mhm.
their success, however they define it. But I think that even if you're disillusioned and you do start to do this inward journey, it doesn't mean that you have to quit your job. The outside of your life might look almost exactly the same, but the tenor of your life is so different.
Yeah.
So, do you see that with your clients as well?
Oh, absolutely. I do believe change happens from the inside out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I mean that's certainly how it was for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people sometimes come to me. It brings to mind one client who came to me because she was certain that her day job was stopping her from doing what she wanted to do. And that she came to me thinking it was to find a different day job. No, she came to me to figure out a way to do what she wanted to do, regardless of her circumstances.
Mm,
And as it turned out, what needed to happen was leverage the day job, which was a somewhat mindless kind of goldfish bowl receptionist type situation, so that outside of it, she could start to build what she wanted, which was performance related. And
mm,
she proceeded to do that. And the focus was there. She also started to share more of herself at her day job, which was very interesting because I don't think we need to compartmentalize necessarily.
mm.
The day job, I know coaches who used to be waiters and they would actually plant the seeds for consultations while they were serving someone at a restaurant.
Right.
It's really the reframing that I think you're talking about. All of a
Yeah, I
sudden,
agree.
yeah.
And I love that example of your client who was a receptionist and
Mhm.
changed her relationship and her perspective on what she was doing and what was important, and then built
What
a life
she
outside of
wanted
it.
to do was her work. And
Yeah.
as I know, we're about what someone really wants,
Yeah.
not what they think they want.
Yeah. And sometimes they don't know. That's one of the questions that I'll ask my clients. What do you want?
Yeah,
And, for many people, at whatever point in their life, they look at me and they go, like they
yeah,
actually don't know. They've forgotten what they want. And so that's a whole process. And it's kind of eye opening to go, oh my gosh, I'm 50 years old. I've a successful individual. I've got the home, the family, the spouse, the whatever. But I actually don't know what I want. I forgot. And that is often a really interesting open door,
it
right?
sure is.
Yeah. Can
And
we
so
just,
often people don't have that platform, that container, that space to sit with that question.
yeah,
And that alone is worth the price of admission as far as coaching, in my opinion.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to shift a little bit, especially because you were talking about emotions and how people feel and their perspective. You've written a book, and I want to hear more about it. Tell me more about your book.
Well, the five emotions that stop success, of course, that it also was a culmination of both my life and my career, my two careers, uh, and in healing myself. It was, I would say, fundamental to writing the book was not just the process of becoming a coach, which does change you. It was my own healing personally from chronic shame. And I was in psychoanalysis for many years. Through the course of psychoanalysis, I was able to identify a cycle of emotions, and those emotions are shame, grandiosity, which is basically the flip side of shame,
Mhm.
envy, also rooted in shame, not being enough.
Yeah.
Boredom, which has, shame is sort of an undercurrent for all of these because boredom is a lack of meaning. Boredom is allowing yourself to be disengaged from why something matters. And so all you want to do is run away from it, get hijacked, get distracted. And of course, fear of being shamed, right? So there's that cycle. And I don't believe in fear of success.
Mm.
I believe in fear of shame.
Interesting.
And, there's I'm going to paraphrase the Talmud, where it said that to shame a man in public, of course, it's sexist language because it's a very old text, to
Yeah.
shame a man in public is akin to murdering him.
Wow.
And when you think about how prevalent shame is in our society, in our culture, and what a useful tool of control it actually is, no wonder we all have to heal from it. And it becomes very unsafe to be seen. That was the original title of the book. It's safe to be seen. I realized it was really about what makes being seen unsafe and being able to separate from those emotions. Because while I agree they're a GPS, we can also start to buy into how we feel as being who we are, which it is not. And another seminal tool that developed out of my work and really is a counterpoint to working with the emotions is an exercise that came out of a dream I had about halfway through my psychoanalysis, which was I was in a beautiful Broadway theater and sitting up in the mezzanine, which is the balcony. I was in the front row of the first mezzanine, not the
Dress
nosebleeds.
circle.
Yeah,
Dress
yeah.
circle. Yeah.
Dress circle. It's dress circle. I call it the mezzanine. Interesting, dress circle. But there on the stage was a scene from my life playing out from my childhood. Very traumatic, physically abusive, horrible scene. And yet I was sitting there in the mezzanine just watching it unfold in a state of serenity. And when I told my therapist this, he said, that's the key. You are the woman in the mezzanine, not the person on stage. So a lot of times in working with people, I help them cultivate that witness self. And God knows I didn't invent it. We're talking about meditation thousands of years. We all just come up with new language for it through our own experience.
Mhm.
But I created the mezzanine exercise where I allow people to observe situations that have been triggering to them so they can learn from them and reframe how they may respond if certain things arise again. And in the process of doing that, we're changing our neurocircuitry. And meditation does that. It changes your neurocircuitry so that you can see options that were not visible before. So that's
As
the
you just
broad stroke.
as you described that.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely the witnessing, I am not the thinker of my thoughts, right? I am
Mhm.
the not the thinker of my thoughts, I'm the observer of it. And I love the idea of witnessing anything in our life. And it doesn't have to be a traumatic event, but it
That's
could just be something that you did last week. Witness that and think, could I have done something differently? Would something
absolute.
else have been more satisfying, more constructive? How would I have felt in that way? And to get that separation from self,
That's
I
right.
think is key. And then you combine that with, I don't know what the word is, not healing shame, but shifting shame,
Mhm.
because we're all human. We all do things we appreciate or don't appreciate, but we get to determine how we interpret it as well. Is it just a mistake or is it
Mhm.
something shameful? right? And so I hadn't thought before you started talking about shame being the root of so many of these other emotions like grandiosity and also of boredom. You know, it's all kind of in that not enoughness, right? I'm
That's right.
insufficient. I'm not
Yeah,
enough as an individual. And our society does promote that. I mean, there's nothing more that they would love than for us to buy more things and to consume more stuff to avoid looking at that central reason, right?
absolutely. That,
Yeah.
that, that's right. Uh, yeah. Well said. I don't think I have much I can add to that. The only thing I would say is, as a young coach listening to this,
Yeah.
kind of like they say, don't try this at home. If you know, if you decide you want to try the mezzanine exercise and have your client put something, it's very important to be responsible and work with things that are not the most triggering thing in their life
Yes.
necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I love what you said about if something didn't go right the other day. That's wonderful stuff to work with. Right. If you are, and sometimes it's not your choice, something comes up in the client and it's very profound. You need to create the safety for them so that they know they're safe, they are separate from whatever they're feeling, whatever's coming up. You have to be responsible because we've all experienced trauma.
But we just had a little technical glitch. And what we were talking about is important. So, how to responsibly, as a coach, help your client get into this witness place. We were talking about the woman in the mezzanine and what a powerful tool it is. And you had some great stuff to describe.
Yeah, obviously, you don't want someone to pick their most traumatic experience necessarily off the bat. However, we can't control our clients, and things come up inadvertently. We are catalysts as coaches, and things are going to come up for your client, and it's not cause for alarm. It's just if you see someone who's being very emotionally activated by a contemplation, something they're remembering, it is important to coach them through that by reminding them to breathe and reminding them they are not their memory. They are not what happened. They are not the occasion for shame. They are taking control. That it's just it's like an autopsy. Morbid as that sounds, we're doing a little autopsy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at what went down. What did you learn from it? What would you do differently?
Yeah.
And I say that because I know as a young coach, I was stealing from people right and left. So, I mean, that's what we do. And then you make things your own. If you decide you're going to steal the mezzanine exercise, I just want to be sure people use it responsibly.
Yeah, and so there's two other things here is that yes, sometimes big emotions do show up in your coaching calls.
Mhm.
And like you said, not a cause for alarm. Not just ask your client to breathe, but for you as the coach, breathe
One.
too. And it is a sign that there is enough safety in that space for the client to experience that emotion.
That's right.
So that's a good thing. The second is, we're all often partners with therapists. So we always make sure we refer to therapists because we can all use therapy and sometimes more than once in our life, right? Like if you haven't had therapy, it's time. And if it's been a couple of years, it's probably time again, right? We're never fully healed. Being alive is part of the healing process.
Well, yeah, and I love it because I don't know if you find this. I'm curious to know if you do. I find that therapy, the clients who are able to do it, now I know it's an expense,
Mm-hmm.
but the clients who are able to have both, things come up in therapy that they bring to coaching that are going to be more effectively dealt with in coaching because they need to create an action plan, and things are going to come up in coaching that are better dealt with in therapy, so they really complement each other.
Yeah, totally. You said something else, Rati, that you don't believe in fear of success. And I think that that's super interesting because I do believe in fear of success. I believe that there are lots of us who fear success because we think that our life is going to be crap, that there's going to be a sacrifice because we've had to succeed. Like, what did you have to say no to? What relationship did you have to be finished with? And that there's consequences of success. So I'm curious what your perspective is. I'd love to learn.
Well, I think we're afraid of the consequences, not success itself. I
Okay.
also think success is relative, you know?
Mm.
If you, for some people, success is having a lot of solitude and still being able to pay the rent and having a lot of free time. What a luxury. So it really, that's why defining success for yourself is extremely important.
Mhm.
And realizing that it is what you're really afraid of are the consequences of success, because that's where you can dig into the belief work to shift the beliefs that are stopping you from going for it.
Yeah, and so that's interesting. So that's treating success as in first we self-define what is it for us?
Yeah.
How do we define success? And our definition will change over time. And that it's not an end goal, it is a line that you cross. So is it the line that is making you nervous, or is it the consequences of being past that line that's making you nervous, right?
Success is a habit,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
More than for me, more than a line that you cross, it is, really developing the ninja skill of reframing and shifting your perspective on things. When you're in the midst of counting things you're grateful for, you are experiencing success.
So maybe that's it right there. Like the definition of success. For me, I actually don't ever think or chase success. I chase satisfaction,
Yeah.
right? And so my version of satisfaction, somebody else might define as success. So maybe there's in that the word itself, there's a lot of different meanings. Is it getting to a certain level? Is it income level? Is it, a home? Is it a great relationship? What is it? But is it the word itself part of the challenge?
That's
If we chase a
interesting.
quality, if we're pursuing a quality and a new perspective on our life, that's different than the word success, right?
Well, yes. And I think to be we do you part of setting goals and fulfilling them is that's part of the process of setting the goals, defining what success looks like. For many people in my niche, success is finishing something.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Especially with people who are ADHD, such
That's right.
creative.
Who have fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Such
They got
huge
50
creative
things
ones.
started, nothing finished. And
Yeah.
for success would be finishing that first draft. And then the next success would be the rewrite. And the next success would be it being shared. I don't think creative projects are complete until they're out in the world.
Mm,
But
yeah.
the what defines the success at each stage changes depending on what stage you're at with what matters, with what it is you want to create.
This piece here about the thought about what is success, and I think is really key. I don't know if I have any more thoughts or questions on it, but it's really got me thinking. And I like that. Like, that's one of the reasons I love these kinds of conversations is I'm like, oh, I never thought about it in that way. And I find that very, very helpful.
Oh,
And it'll
good.
also help with my work with clients as well.
What?
Gosh, listen, we're at 30 minutes and I think we could talk for another hour, but I think we should draw a line here. Before we wrap up, and yes, I will ask how can people find out more about you? How can they get into your world? But before that, is there anything that you haven't said that you think needs to be said in this space?
Well, it's what I constantly remind myself of. Life is transition. Whatever's going on right now, it's going to change. So if it's not so great, don't worry about it.
And if
It's,
it is great, it's going to change too.
and that's right. Don't glom onto it.
Yeah. Don't
And
get
that
annoyed.
goes for your coaching business. You may have a killer year, and because it's tough the next year doesn't mean you screwed up. Because there is our own consciousness and there's the collective consciousness. And sometimes collectively, things are challenging in the world, and you can't take that all on yourself.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I
Yeah.
love that. Okay. So, Reti, can you share how people can find out more about you and come closer to you, come closer into one of the communities perhaps that you've built to?
Well, I think that, oh, thank you for that. I think that you can find the mother lode of Rahti by going to my link tree. I do have a community for professionals who work with creatives. I decided to create my own networking group so I could share a niche with the people in it. So that's something you can learn about via Linktree as well. You can get to all of my resources and website and everything through there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Gosh, I appreciate having had you on this show.
Oh,
Really enjoyed our
I
conversation. You gave me lots to think about. I love it.
oh,
Thank
I'm
you
so
so much for joining me. Okay, so let's wrap it up today. All right, listeners, we talked about a lot of things. As you finish listening to this show, I want you to ask yourself, what is the one thing that I want to take away? What is the one big aha for me that I want to take away and grow from? It might be something from the show, it might be the way it was described. It doesn't matter what it is, but if you just take that one thing and you apply it to your life and you make it deeper in your life will transform. Thanks so much for joining me this week. And thank you, Rati. Appreciate having you. Okay, everyone, have a great week.